From Lockstep Technology Group, I am Ali Adib, and this is a closed beta project, the show where we talk to IT, cybersecurity experts, pioneers, and influencers about how we can live and grow in the digital age. But I want to talk about a lot of people are going virtual, remote working, and they're utilizing different services such as Zoom, which is very popular nowadays. But what are the threats that you see that are being exploited, including phishing, when people are utilizing these virtual meetings such as Zoom?
Sure. So specifically with virtual meetings, you need to know what you're doing. So if you're in school, or if you're doing company meetings, or if you're having client meetings, or whatever you're doing, you need to understand what access controls exist for that platform. Just because you're using Zoom doesn't mean it's necessarily secure. So yeah, you may be using SSL or TLS or some form of encryption to create the channel, but access control is a whole nother mess. So, Zoom bombing is something that's popped up a lot this week and last, simply because, and what that is basically when somebody who's not supposed to be on a call is able to join or basically take over a call because they have permissions to do so. Either you have like a link to join a meeting or something like that, and people can just jump on the meeting because there's no access control on the meeting link. Or they share permissions, people share things. You don't set, attendee permissions. People can just jump in and talk. Zoom specifically has lots of different access controls you can place on meeting security. So those are things like setting who can join meetings, setting what membership they have inside the meeting. So if they're just attendees, can they speak? Can they raise their hand? What can they do? Can they share? There's lots of things you can do to lock down permissions first to join the meeting, and then once you're in the meeting, what you can do with the meeting. So you can set things like passwords for people to join the meetings. There's a lot of things you can do in your settings when you're setting up these different particular virtual services that allow you to reduce that amount. So you mentioned phishing before. Phishing, I kind of wanted to cover, yes, Zoom, it's in Zoom, it's a problem right now. But it is for everything. So, specifically yesterday, the FBI created a warning about coronavirus related scamming. So this is not just in one particular fashion. It's just anything in general. So anytime you have any kind of event around the world where people get interested in something, scammers are going to immediately jump on that. And this is no different. In fact, it's not only no different, it's far more intense. The amount of scams that have popped up that are coronavirus related is absolutely massive. So specifically, there are several subjects that the FBI came out yesterday and wanted to warn American users about. There's 5 particular subjects that are being used in almost every single scam right now. If you see them, they're generally not good. So the first one is CDC documents and links that claim to have breaking information. The only place you should go for CDC information is cdc.gov. And I guarantee you on their homepage, there is a link to see any information that you could possibly imagine that's public for the coronavirus. So don't click on links. Don't open documents, specifically with email, any kind of warning or anything like that from the CDC specifically. So that's one thing that they're warning about on the subject side. The next thing is fake coronavirus experiences. So another thing that's extremely common right now that you see a tactic from scammers is people trying to scare and fearmonger, utilizing a tactic that basically lies about experiences, about you. Oh, this is what it's actually like to have coronavirus. It's really bad. If you open this, we'll tell you what it's actually like. So that's another subject. A third that's popping up this week for sure is financial aid. So the third subject is financial aid and government assistance. And I'll kind of go through how these get delivered after I get over the subjects. The fourth is fake treatments. That is a massive scam right now. People trying to convince others that there are treatments for the virus, and they're using that as a subject to get you to open something or click a link or something like that. Equipment sales. That's another big one. So click here, go here to this website. We have masks, we have toilet paper, we have all this kind of stuff. Come here and you can get what you need. So those are the 5 subjects that are being warned about specifically in scams. Now, what are they asking you to do? Specifically here, they're asking you to do things like click links. So this is common in phishing. Everybody knows about this in the past. I'm going to share one with you right here, real quick, that I've seen. There's the first one, so you can kind of start back over here. So this is the first one I'm talking about here, which is the malicious link that they're trying to get you. So there you can see it's a dear whoever. We're closely monitoring this situation. It's an updated list of new cases around your city are available here. So CDC, Gov, you can see where, so that's the sender up there. You never know where these are coming from. Don't click on links. Just don't click on a link. If you want information from the CDC, go to our browser, type in CDC, and click on usually the first link that's there, which is cdc.gov. And then on their homepage, they're going to have information that you need. Don't click on this. You can see several things in here that they're looking for specifically to try to get you to click on it. Don't go to any of these links. Don't click on links. Go navigate yourself to whatever service you're trying to get to, whether that's DHHS or CDC or something like that. So links, just because, so let's say, you click on this link and you go to what looks like the CDC website. It may not be. They can either clone the website and make it look very similar, or you can use iframes, which is basically a window to another website. So basically I stand up a website that has an iframe, which basically allows you to see the real CDC website through my website, and you're still visiting my malicious website. So just because you appear to go to the right place does not mean you do. Instead of clicking on a link, navigate to the website in your browser. The next thing is open documents. So if you'll pull up one of the other documents there, pull up the, not the one you just had, the other one there. I just kind of want to show.
The one that previously I had open.
Did that one and the other one. You can kind of pull them both up. So the other one is documents. Documents, often contain malware. They can contain other programs inside of them. This is a particular link that seems to be a DocuSign link, signing up for a cure or solution. Again, so you can see the thing here. Here you need to sign up by going here to sign up to be treated in time or something like that. Probably not real. It's probably a scam. Actually, it is a scam, I guarantee you, because that's not how this kind of stuff works. So this is probably a malicious document or a link. This is, again, it could be DocuSign, so it could be taking you, claiming to be DocuSign to take you to another website or something like that. So pull up the other one that I sent you, which is another document there. So there you see, this is another one at who.2-pc.com, safety measures. Please go through this, open this document and go through it for safety measures. And you can see your safety measures is the document they've got there, and they want you to download and open this document. And then whatever that is, it's likely a malicious, program that's attached to that document that's going to run as soon as you open that document, usually with your permissions, or try to elevate them. So don't click on the documents. Again, go navigate to whoever you're trying to get to, the WHO, the DHHS, CDC, wherever you're trying to go, navigate to it on your own browser and get there, as opposed to opening a document in an email or something like that. The other thing they're trying to get you to do is either confirm or give information out. So this specifically has been targeted and seen a lot in the third subject, which is financial aid or government assistance. And this in particular is where they're going to ask you to confirm your information in order to get your check. We need you, they'll even call sometimes. So how the scams are delivered is the third subject here, which is, what are they doing to get these to you? The most common is obviously emails. I mean, it's millions, if not hundreds of millions of emails a day. I mean, this is just, it's so common. Another common one that people don't really realize a lot is social media posts. So just because it's in social media or Facebook does not mean it's not malicious links. It does not mean it's not a malicious document just because it's in Facebook or some other social media platform. That's another place that's really common because everybody knows that it's a common watering hole, a watering hole attack where you know where a lot of people are going to be there and their guard's going to be down in some cases. So you don't click on stuff just because it's in your social media platform and it's not in an email. Phone calls is another one. So phishing, which is voice phishing, is another common tactic here, and I bet it's going to increase now that literally, a vast portion of the United States is supposed to be getting a check from the government or however that's going to work. You be aware that people who call you and say they're from the IRS or federal government are probably not. They're not going to call and ask you to confirm your social security number and all that kind of stuff in order for you to get your check. Don't do that. Don't confirm credentials or PII. Anytime you get redirected to something to confirm credentials and stuff like that, it's just dangerous. Re-navigate yourself to wherever you want to go. Instead of clicking links and opening documents, and don't give anybody your credentials or your personal information over phones or anything else. Just because they know things about you does not mean that they are who they say they are. So you can get rid of that there. And then finally, snail mail. So people don't think about this, but scams still do come through the mail. And now that it's affecting literally everyone in the world, you're going to see an increase in all of these forms of scamming across the world. So that's going to be from everything from the snail mail to email to social media posts, phone calls, all of that stuff's going to increase. And everybody knows everyone's terrified right now. So scammers are going to take advantage of that fear and then prey on that using those tactics that we just mentioned. So we're definitely going to see an increase, not a decrease here in this kind of activity.
So if you're a business, what would you tell your employees to look out for? Is it the links when they see it? What end user education would you give out with like 3 tips?
Yeah, be suspicious of everything. So, a lot of the time when we perform phishing tests, they're only not successful because sometimes, and sometimes they still are, a lot of the time, some of the things that stops us though is that you're the recipient, the victim is in the same office as the person we are trying to be. And that in particular is not possible right now. So, if you were able to go down the hall and ask, whoever you think you're talking to, why they asked you a question and it's not actually them, that can stop attacks. Now you can't do that. Be very, very suspicious. I said this on the podcast the other day, or that thing we did the other day. We're living in a hacker's paradise now because everybody's online and they're all doing their jobs online, and all the IT departments had to scramble to make this happen on time. And we know that. All the bad guys know that. Well, I'm not a bad guy, but still, all the bad guys know that. So you have to keep that in mind. If you have any of these, if you had to hastily put a lot of these remote working things in place as a business, you really need to look at your controls that are in place for security. What ports, services did you open? What are you using for authentication remotely? Are you using VPNs? All that kind of stuff we went over in that other podcast that we did, or the presentation that we did. That would be good for other people to go look at. As an individual, you need to be using a VPN. You need to be using good credentials. You need to be using good authentication practices. But be skeptical of everything. If you get redirected to provide your credentials, think twice. Make sure that you're not giving people information, even if they sound like the right person. You just need to confirm sometimes. Specifically, a lot of these organizations that are remote finance or HR personnel, so we saw this over the last several years. We've seen a massive increase in business email compromise, and it's a call we get every single week from somebody that's been a victim of business email compromise. And now even more so that all these finance and HR departments are working from home and they're not close to each other and don't have, they're quickly trying to respond to things like changing direct deposit changes or wiring money transfers, paying invoices. You need to have processes in place where multiple people look at and approve that stuff before it goes out the door. Because, it's going to be hard to catch a lot of that stuff now. So just because, we talked about specifically coronavirus threats, just because that's the popular thing right now doesn't mean any of the other cybercrime is going to decrease. It will not. It will increase.
I don't know if you saw this morning, the Marriott had disclosed that another breach was discovered. Obviously they didn't do all the things that they should have done, but what could they have done to prevent it the second time happened? I think this is the second time in 2 years.
So it says it was accessed at the end of February using the login credentials of 2 employees at a franchise property. So here there's several problems. One, do those people at franchise properties need access to 5.2 million guest data information? I don't know. Maybe they do. The first thing is you need to investigate whether or not people actually need access to the data that they have. So access control, principle of least privilege, which is, if people don't need access to something, they don't get access to it. You need to make sure that's in place. You need to do entitlement reviews where you're reviewing whether or not people actually need it or not. This is something we see almost every single day. The primary thing we do in penetration testing, I would say, is abusing some form of permission. Whether that's lateral movement, escalation, privilege escalation, whatever that is, it's because something has access rights or something to something they should not, whether that's a process or a person. And it looks like in this case, you have 2 people and they used their credentials in order to gain a lot of this information. So, they may have been doing all their controls correctly. They may have put a lot of controls in place to do this, but that cartoon that everybody in this industry has seen for the last couple of years, where you've got all this crazy equipment and Dave in the other corner, who's the human error. In this case, they may have had plenty of controls, but if those people have access to that data and they use the exact same password for Facebook and Instagram and MyFitnessPal and LinkedIn and all this crap that they use exactly for work, and it's the same password, which we find very regularly, you've got access. You got access to everything that person has access to. So, in this case, it's looking like it was to employees of a franchise place, and they have access to what they have access to, and you're able to exfiltrate data because of that. And another thing I see here is the FBI led the investigation of the data theft. Investigators suspect that the hackers are working on behalf of the Chinese military state secretary of state security, which is the rough equivalent of the FBI and the CIA. Okay. Just because you're a big organization and you get hacked doesn't mean it's always a nation state and there's nothing you can do. This may be true. It may be true that it was a nation, a Chinese military intelligence service that was performing this. But something that I see way too often is that people use that as an excuse of, we couldn't have done anything. There's no way to stop the Chinese intelligence service or the NSA, or there's no way to stop any of these guys, so there's no reason to try. Not true. Often the way that these places exploit things. So, getting 2 people's logins is not a 0 day that you can't protect from. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, the Chinese military service may pay those people. That's one thing that's different about intelligence services that is, very different from most normal hackers, which is that if they can't find a way in, they'll just buy their way in. That is true. However, it's much easier in most cases to just find someone's credentials on any number of the however many billion records that have been breached out there and just find that they're still using the exact same password that was listed in the breach. So, using the excuse, it was the Chinese or it was the North Koreans or it was the NSA or whoever it was, there's nothing we could have done. Not true. You definitely can do a lot of things to protect yourself, even though, yes, there are nation state actors out there.
So it kind of boils down to very few specific things that you can actually do to prevent most of these things, which is education of what people should click on or not click on in this case. Actually be very careful of what the sender's email address or URL says. And most importantly, as far as the security and cybersecurity goes, is access control. Am I right?
Access control is a massive piece. I mean, there is no cybersecurity framework out there that does not involve some form of access control. And that needs to be incorporating the principle of least privilege, which I already covered.
Zero trust.
That's a buzzword. Sure.
What would you call it
So zero trust is the
lingo?
idea that you never trust anyone who's trying to authenticate, and you never give, so it is kind of it's a version of enforcement of the principle of least privilege. It's a kind of a buzzword, kind of like single pane of glass and, other things that the industry uses that, it's one of those buzzwords that all the engineers stop listening when people use, but it's just a way to say that, you don't trust anyone doing anything at any time. You're only given access to what you need, which is good, which is a way to enforce the principle of least privilege. It just needs to be done everywhere. So yes, access controls is vitally important. Patching, vulnerability scanning, vitally important. Backups, vitally important. And in specifically this case where you're talking about phishing, business email compromise, and all that kind of stuff, you need to have people processes in place too. So those policies and procedures are where you're going to stop things like business email compromise. You need to have programs in place. Users don't only need to be trained not to click on things and open documents and provide their credentials. They also need to be trained on how to respond when they do. Even the best of us will make mistakes from time to time. So the employees also need to be trained on what to do in the case they do that. What happens if they do give away their credentials? What are they supposed to do? Mm-hmm. So they need to be trained on that too.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't cover regarding this topic?
Everybody be really, just make sure everybody is as paranoid as I am while you're working from home, which means don't trust anything or anyone. I know you got to do your job. Everybody's still got to do their job. Just be careful because right now it's going to be bad for a while with cybercrime, and I'm sure that a lot of it's happening right now that you have no idea is going on. So be careful, and reach out for help if you need help. Reach out for it to some organization. Reach out to some organization that can help you either write policies or enforce backups or increase your entitlement review or whatever you need. Ask for help.
Thank you for listening to Closed Beta Project. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please review, like, and share it with your friends and colleagues. The Closed Beta Project is produced and hosted by me. If you have any questions, please visit our website at lockstepgroup.com. Until the next episode, have a great week.